cash runway. Oh, sorry. Okay. So one thing to clarify is cash runway does not equal cash flow. So for example, you could have your funding lined up with a cash runway for 2 years, but just because you know you'll be profitable in December, if you can't figure out how to pay your bills in January, you're dead in the water. So you need to know if you have any cash risk and how to mitigate it in advance. So reason number one, businesses fail to assess the business reality. So even the best cash flow management isn't going to help you if your business fundamentals are out of whack. So questions to ask yourself: do your financials reflect your business reality? Do you have an understanding of your business's unit economics? So for example, does the simple act of providing your service cover its own costs and even help you cover your overhead fixed costs? Do you have an understanding of your business's cash burn and your runway to operate? Now, how do you kind of get that clear picture state of your business's reality? You should be closing your financial statements on a monthly basis, which includes preparing the statement of profit and losses, a balance sheet, and a statement of cash flow. So I wanted to take a quick poll, drop me an emoji or reaction. Does your startup have a monthly close process? Kind of curious how many startups do. Anvar? Trimpixel? Chris Banks? Joyce, yes. Oh, Devorah, Nikhil, is that like a sad face? Like, but you should, or did you click the wrong button? Okay.
That it should.
What's that?
Knew that I should.
Okay, that's okay. Self-awareness is still like a really important first step. So, questions to ask yourself: is that bank balance going up or down? Do your day-to-day business operations or your operating activities generate or use cash? So hopefully your operating activities are generating cash, or, if because you're a startup, at least you have a sight line to when your operating activities will be generating cash. How much cash are you spending on investing long-term in your business? Is it too much or too little? Is the money coming in coming from your operations, or is it coming in because your business is taking on loans or investors from your financing activities? So hopefully as your startup becomes profitable, it's self-sustaining and the cash in is from your operations rather than from debt or equity. So having this clear picture, a really honest snapshot of your business, allows you to find the opportunities and mitigate the risks before a crisis situation. Reason number two, businesses don't forecast their future cash inflows and outflows. So, you're driving on a car on a highway, you're definitely looking ahead, right? Like you're scanning ahead to make sure that you're hitting the right exits and you're avoiding any roadblocks. And preparing cash flow projections is doing the same thing for your business. So poll question here: does your startup do short-term and medium cash forecasts? Thumbs up, thumbs down. Oh, but Nikhil, you don't do a close, but you forecast cash. Anvar, I think, answered that he closes, but does not do the cash flow. Actually, out of curiosity, if I could just pick on Anvar for a second, is there a reason why you don't do the cash flow? Is it like a capacity issue or a knowledge issue, or just really focusing on the P&L instead?
Yeah. The reason is we are bootstrapped and everything, we don't have anything outstanding. Like we are selling online, so the cash flows in as the sales happens. So
that's interesting, because I think a lot of other companies that I've worked with who are bootstrapped are actually more all over the cash, like more concerned about the cash flow because it is coming from your own pocket. So maybe food for thought for you. So anyways, how do you do cash flow projections? So step one is you're going to look to the past at your historical cash flows. Do you see any patterns, any seasonality? Really importantly, like, are there points during the year where that cash balance is negative? So then step two is using your historical data as a base, you're going to look to the future. There's an amount of forecasting involved, which I'm sure, as many of you guys know, forecasting is a science and an art. But each month you want to look ahead, and in the short term, you want to go on look at a weekly basis at the next 6 to 8 weeks. So you want to do a rolling 6 to 8 week forecast. That's probably going to be on a more granular level. And then for the medium term, you want to do a higher level monthly view of the next 12 to 18 months. And so when you're considering your cash forecast, of course, you want to consider your future sales confidence, expected payments from your customers. When it comes to SaaS companies, you really need to nail that revenue forecast number. Like if you can nail that revenue forecast number, all of your other expenses and hiring decisions will flow from that revenue number. So having taken, your historical, your future, P&L forecast, then you're going to assemble your cash flow projection. So at the most simplified level, your cash flow is your bank balance at the start of the period. You're going to add your cash coming in, and then you're going to subtract your cash going out. And this is going to equal your bank balance at the end of the month. Now, hopefully the cash that's coming in is coming primarily from sales and collections on receivables, and your cash going out is from bills, credit cards, payroll, rent, etc. Once you've prepared your cash flow projection, you're going to assess the same things that you did in step 1. And the biggest red flag is if that cash balance is negative, what is your plan to find the cash to keep your business afloat? So doing regular cash flow projections is going to lead to some really, really great insights. Are you overspending or underspending in certain areas? Are you sitting on a comfortable cash cushion? Or are there some red danger zones ahead that you need to circumnavigate? Are there any questions about any of the previous slides before I go to reason number 3? Okay. So reason number 3, businesses don't optimize their cash inflows and outflows. So if your cash goes out the door faster than you're bringing it in, you'll find that your bank account is going to end up in an overdraft position. So how do you optimize your cash flows? Well, firstly, you want to speed up the cash that's coming in. So are you invoicing customers on a timely basis? How quickly are you collecting? How do you chase late payments if there are any? Do you have an automated process? Is it manual, or worse, or is like no one monitoring it at all? Does it make sense to offer customers discounts for early payment? If your customers are consistently paying late, can you charge them interest? Second, you want to slow down your cash out. So are you paying invoices back too early before they're due? Or are you, do you not have a process in place, so you're always losing your invoices and you're paying them late and therefore incurring fees that you don't have to? Can you consolidate suppliers so that you can negotiate discounts? Is all of the business spend actually appropriate? How do you know? Are you controlling your company credit card spend? And then thirdly, you want to continuously monitor your cash inflows and outflows. So it's actually very helpful to pull even like weekly accounts receivables and accounts payable reports, into a spreadsheet, and then just kind of look ahead for the next 3 months and just to forecast things out or see if anything looks wonky. So kind of poll question here, does your startup regular review your accounts receivables and accounts payable? Is that something that you guys look at? One from Trim Pixel. Oh, so I only see one participant actually look at their receivables and payables. Oh, okay, Alex does, Barry does. Cool. Just kind of out of curiosity, for the people who don't do that, is there a reason why? Is it not a concern for you guys, or is it just like not really an awareness of something to be monitoring? Maybe can I pick on Alex D?
There's 2 Alex Ds.
Oh, okay, maybe Alex Delivet. Is it French?
French.
Okay.
So what do you want me to say?
Just curious, is monitoring your accounts receivables and your accounts payable something that you guys do, or not really?
Yeah.
Oh, you do? Okay.
Yeah. Well, I'm a bootstrap business and still small, so I would say I know pretty much everything that's coming up or out. So in or out. So pretty easy on my side.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so another concept I wanted to introduce is you should be calculating your cash conversion cycle. So the lower your cash conversion cycle, the better your business's cash generating position. And your cash conversion cycle is a pretty simple formula. It's your days inventory outstanding plus your days sales outstanding less your days payable outstanding. And I believe for the purposes of SaaS companies and most of the participants on this call, I don't think that inventory is really a huge part of your businesses. So we can kind of just take the inventory out of the equation for our discussion today. But I think I think it's easiest to go through an example to understand the concept of the cash conversion cycle. So let's say we have company A and their sales team takes 90 days to collect payments from their customers. However, company A's accounting team is like so gung-ho and they're paying all of those bills within 5 days of, when they receive it. So even before they're due. So you can see that it takes 90 days to get the cash in versus only 5 days to get the cash out. So company A's cash conversion cycle is 85 days. On average, it takes them 85 days to generate more cash. Now, in contrast, company B's sales team takes 45 days to collect payments from their customers, and company B pays its bills at 30 days. So company B's cash conversion cycle is only 15 days. On average, it only takes them 15 days to generate more cash. So you see, even having a simple awareness or setting simple policies or goals around the number of days that it takes your company to collect from customers and to pay vendors can make a huge impact on your cash flow. And I wanted to make a side note, VC funding is like a corporate credit card that you never have to pay back. That is until, one day you wake up and you found out that your house got taken away because you haven't delivered on time on your promise to investors before you maxed out the credit card limit. So knowing how long it takes your business to pull cash in versus push cash out is critical. It can help you optimize your cash flow situation and even potentially become a competitive advantage. So reason number 4, businesses don't consider financing needs in advance. I think this is a great quote. Failing to plan is planning to fail. So kind of poll question, do you guys have a line of credit for your startup? Is that something any of you guys considered applying for? No? Okay, lots of head shakes. As part of your cash flow projection, you want to plan your financing needs in advance, not when you're in a crisis situation. And, when you are in a crisis situation, that's when bankers are nervous to lend. So if you can actually be strategic and apply for a line of credit before you need it, it's much easier to qualify for a line of credit when you're in good financial health, and banks will be more willing to approve you and to give you a better rate. Reason number 5. Businesses don't have a contingency plan in place for a crunch time situation. So for example, let's say company C banks with SVB. They woke up one morning and they realized, oh no, they had no access to any of their funds. So what are some crunch time levers they could employ? So consider, could you offer big discounts to generate some quick sales and cash inflows? Could you offer customers an incentive to prepay or pay balances before they're due just to get some quick cash in? Could you negotiate with suppliers or landlords for extra time to pay the bills? Could you offer to consolidate SaaS tools and vendors to get additional rebates and discounts? And, amongst the founders, the C-suites and investors, who would be committed to contribute how much should a sudden cash call situation arise? So it's really critical to have a contingency plan to discuss and share with the founder or management team in advance of a crisis situation. So kind of a quick poll question, does a cash contingency plan, has that ever registered on your minds? Is that something that you guys have thought about or discussed? Lots of head shaking no's. Is this something that you guys would consider doing after this session? Maybe, thumbs up, maybe. All right, so The purpose of today's discussion was to focus on the day-to-day operational cash management, but there are some other considerations as well. So quick question, like, do you guys know how many months of runway you have in your bank account? Thumbs up if you do. I got a confident nod from Chris, Anvar, Devora. Amazing. Awesome. Okay. Yes. And Nikhil. Awesome. Okay. So it is really important to determine how many months worth of cash outflows you need to keep in your checking account. So a business should always have a minimum of 6 months of cash runway. And when you have less than that, you really need to have a tight handle on your accounts receivable and your accounts payable in that 6-week cash forecast. A business that is not profitable should never operate with less than 3 months of cash runway without a secure contingency in place. And in fact, in certain countries in Europe, that's technically illegal, or it's going to trigger a director's liability. So, things to think about. What should you do with any cash that you're sitting on in excess of what needs to be kept in your checking account? What is your company's long-term cash management and investment strategy? Have you diversified your investment risk and even your bank? As you can see, these are some other long-term considerations for you to think about, and wasn't really planning on diving into that during this session, but if it's something you want to chat more about afterwards, like definitely feel free to DM me on LinkedIn, and I'm happy to set something up. So spectacular achievement is always preceded by unspectacular preparation, and strong cash management similarly, it brings many benefits to a founding team. That cash is king or queen mentality can really make or break a company. So adopting this mindset from the top to throughout an organization creates focus and opportunity. So if I could impart, the top 3 takeaways from my talk today is: 1, having the automated processes in place and the discipline of closing your financial books each month is a key control. And this helps provide you that really honest snapshot of your business's reality. And this is critical to decision-making and leads to cohesive leadership. 2, cash is king or queen. It's imperative to have that short-term cash flow forecast for that rolling 6 to 8 week period, which helps ensure the viability of your startup. And 3, have a contingency plan in place in advance of a crisis situation. And this will provide you with optionality and many ready-to-go choices for when times get tough. So if you'd like to figure out how well you're doing at cash management and where you are relative to your peers in this environment, please feel free to reach out to me or Joyce on LinkedIn. You can definitely follow us and send us a DM. We have a great operational scorecard to provide you with that insight. So with that, thank you for joining me today, and hopefully I'll see you at a later session. And are there any questions?
Any questions at all? I have a question then, Teresa.
Okay, Jovi.
Just to kind of get the conversation started here. So you've talked about, obviously, managing cash. With everything that's happened, including the SVB weekend, I suppose, what are easy advice that you can partake to our founders on how they can future-proof their cash management? Like you were talking about contingency plans. Are there kind of any easy things that you feel like every founder should know? And maybe we need to share this with our founders today.
I think, I don't know if it's a quick fix, but for me, like the first thing is, do your financials reflect your business reality? Like, are your financials your one source of truth? So for example, like I work with companies like pretty advanced kind of Series B, Series C companies, and most of their stuff was going through their ERP system, but to get their revenue number, it was like on an Excel spreadsheet that was so like crickety crackety, and we were in constant fear it was gonna corrupt. And so, I was like, that's a little clunky if, not all of your data is in your accounting system. And so my first thing is like, do you have a clear picture of what's going on with your business? And then that 6 to 8 week forecast, and your cash, your regular budgeting forecasting process is so important, because you just need to know where you are and where you're going. But yes, and in your long-term cash forecast, really having that handle of, do you really know what your monthly cash burn is? and then making sure that you have at least like a 6-month buffer for that cash burn sitting in your checking account. And then anything above that is when you can start to be strategic and think about your long-term kind of cash, investment strategy.
And you brought it up there. Another question for me. Excel sheets, maybe not the best idea. Would you recommend any kind of easy to use platforms? Are you allowed to say which
You know
one's
what?
your favorite?
I don't have a one like size fit all solution. Like it really is, you needing to take a good look at your business and kind of like, are you leaning towards one solution that is on average good enough for your whole business, but on the plus side, everything's integrated and therefore easier? Or is your business so specialized that you actually prefer to have more specialized, a bunch of different specialized tools that are not going to be integrated, but fit your needs very well, because you could theoretically pick the best tool for each, for each segment.
Yeah, so Alex says they use Basis, if that helps.
Well, one thing I would just add on the tooling point, just to pick on that thread a little, I think one of the common patterns that we see around scale-ups and startups in particular, whether it's bootstrapped or VC-backed, it doesn't really matter, is that people put too many tools in too early when the quality of the data and the processes around how you input and extract data from those tools is not yet clear or repeatable. So I would not try to use tools to fit, like to kind of hack people's skills, things that you need to have in place, because actually that can compound potential challenges around data integrity and scalability around that. So definitely, I think there's solutions out there that help with automation and to help streamline workflow so that it's less manual and less cumbersome. For instance, you can look at things like introducing OCR to read invoicing in your accounting system and integrating that. So there's solutions out there, but really what it comes down to is your business maturity and how complex operationally your business is. Because a business 1 million and 10 million AR could be equally as complex, depending on the number of customer logos, the number of corporate entities, the number of go-to-market motions, the number of people you have. So unfortunately, there isn't black and white answers to this. There's just, you have to think about what the optimal solution is for your business.
Thanks, Joyce. Does anyone have any questions for either Joyce or Teresa today? I've learned quite a bit today. So Chris.
Well, that's a good question. So 6 months of cash in the bank seems like a huge amount. I can't imagine that any bootstrap company has that much. I mean, I've heard figures of you should have about 20% of your revenue. Yeah, if you look at companies like Apple, for instance, they have 20% of their revenue as cash reserves. Where does this number of 6 months come from?
6 months is mostly related to companies that have institutional funding and that you're running off a certain cash burn.
Right.
And you don't want to have your back in the wall when it comes to negotiating against your existing or future investors.
So those would be companies that are losing money, right?
Yes. If you're profitable from a cash flow perspective, that's different. Definitely. Because you would want to, but what you still want to figure out is the difference between your operating and investment cash flow. Mm-hmm. And how you switch the dials when certain experiments work and certain experiments don't.
Okay, and for the cash reserves, would you keep it all literally as cash, or would you have some kind of like short-term like investments in that?
Yeah, so I think that's like a good conversation to have with an investment advisor, but what you really need to have is a good grasp on what your cash burn is, or like how much, like what level, what's your cash burn, for the short-term period, and then kind of the look, okay, medium term, like, I need this amount of cash, and long term, I don't need this one. I need this amount of cash. And then your investment advisor can help you line up your investments in accordance with the timelines of when you need the cash.
Okay.
What you don't, Chris, one thing you don't want to end up in, and I don't know enough about your business to comment, is situations where you have big one-off payments that haven't been forecasted, which can happen and happens more often than people would expect, even with finance leaders in place. And all of a sudden you don't have the cash on hand to fund that. And so that's why, yeah, generally, even we're also a bootstrap company, we don't have any funding.
Yeah.
I still run my business with the same principles in mind.
And so that's the kind of unexpected thing where a line of credit would pay off, right?
Yeah, there's just
And who would you
certain
would
things.
you go to your actual bank for a line of credit, or would you go somewhere else?
Again, it depends on your business and kind of scale and size, but yeah, I think once you're above kind of 5 million ARR, there are definitely banking solutions out there.
Okay,
Once you're above 10, then there's a lot more available to you.
better get to 10 quickly then, hadn't I?
There's also the non-dilutive providers, but those come with a certain cost attached,
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
of course.
Barry, I think you have a question. Oh, I think you're muted, Barry.
Yeah, and just in relation to cash flow forecasting, say for investors, do you have any recommended platforms or Excel formats that you use that are sort of easy to use, but are that incorporate cash flow? Because in SaaS subscriptions, you have monthly subscriptions, you have yearly payments, and I basically I started with doing an Excel spreadsheet myself, and then that was just seemed cumbersome. And then there was a company here, a startup that was building a platform, and it wasn't right. And then I looked at another one as well. So just I'm sort of looking for a solution for that, you know.
You
Is
mean?
that just-
Oh, sorry. Go ahead. Okay, I was clear. Like, are you looking for a solution in terms of forecasting or in terms of like the sales?
Yeah, forecasting. Yeah, forecasting. Yeah. I mean, I've got a load of sample forecast Excel spreadsheets from I've got sort of different VCs gave them out free, and some of them are quite complex, and so I'm just looking for a happy medium, to be honest.
Just to clarify, when you say forecasting, you talk about revenue forecasting, P&L, or cash?
Everything. Yeah, everything. Yeah.
I mean, Teresa.
But for a SaaS business.
Yeah, I'm a purist. I think you should build your model from scratch. There's so many templates out there, but it's so different company to company. If you're a product-led growth company, inside sales company, enterprise sales company, it's completely different.
Yeah.
But what is important, I think, is to separate your traditional P&L, which you do for statutory reporting, with your SaaS P&L, which is for management accounting, which then derives your SaaS metrics. Those are two separate things, because one is often based on cash-based accounting, the other is based on accruals accounting, and that's where the nuance of a SaaS business comes in.
So especially with subscriptions, like if you have someone who who's paying you $100 in January, or $10 a month or whatever, $50, depending on what it is, and it's dripping along for the year every month, and then so you've got a different amount of customers coming on board every month, and so yeah, I'm just trying to sort of nail something on that.
How many customer logos do you have?
Pardon?
How many customers do you have?
Oh, it's only small. Bootstrap 10.
10. Okay. So I think with 10, Excel spreadsheet should be fine.
Yeah, it's more basically for investors going forward that a acceptable format that they'd like, if you know what I mean.
Investors should look for the same things that you guys are looking at on a monthly, quarterly basis.
Okay. All right. No problem.
Should be the same set of numbers.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Thanks.
Sure.
Perfect. Any other questions? Alex Delivet, do you have any questions? You always have questions.
Not this time. It was pretty clear. Well, maybe what? Well, I wouldn't be concerned, but I would say what is changing right now for software based in the US, with how the expense are. Well, I'm not an expert, but basically I've seen that there are like big change in the US. You need to amortize your expenses. I think it will be was difficult for US businesses to manage their cash just something that I was thinking about watching your presentation. I don't know if I was clear or not.
Can you maybe repeat it, Alex? Sorry.
Yeah. So, I'm sure that you are aware that that in the US there is a big tax change. So basically, US businesses, they can't just put as an expense all the software, all the engineer cost. Now they will need to amortize them, and so there will be like big tax impact on all software vendors in the US. And I mean, it will also impact tax cash management in the US. So I don't know if some of you are based in the US or not.
Cool. No, thanks for letting us know. We must definitely look into that and like
You've
some...
not aware of that?
Personally, I am not, but I will now be, and I will post some kind of if you can share some information, and I think the rest of the community
I will send that to you.
Yeah, I mean, are you based out of the US, Alex?
No, I'm not.
Oh, okay.
Fortunately.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but
yeah, I mean, I think that's definitely like tax is such a subspecialty that I would definitely, if anyone is based out of the US, like recommend that you speak with your tax preparers, tax advisors, in terms of the tax planning that you can do around that. But you know, at the end of the day, like tax is tax, and I'm a big proponent that the tax tail should not wag the dog. You know what I mean? But it is reality, and we got to deal with it, and definitely like, you know, something to work with your tax advisor on.
Just speaking quickly from a US company here, our tax advisors have actually recommended that we file extensions, which is what we did, because that is actually not 100% certain to stick around. It's currently being fought. And so there's a good chance this summer in session it will go away before the October deadline. So most VCs have recommended just postpone your filing to not have to pay those taxes, because actually it is a pretty like large amount, like the equivalent of 3 months of cash for us, for instance. So that completely changes our runway and how things go. So it's not insubstantial, which is why for a lot of small startups like the pre-Series B, it's actually quite painful, which is why it's being fought. So we'll see what happens, but hopefully it doesn't wind up putting anyone out of business.
Sorry, Alex, what actually is it? Is it a sales tax or revenue tax?
Yeah, I'm honestly not, obviously not a CPA or a tax expert myself. My understanding when talking to our accountants is that with what's happening is that you've been able to basically not have to pay taxes and basically take the credit on what you've spent on R&D and apply that against your taxes, so that it basically is a wash on a variety of different taxes that you would normally have to spend. So sales taxes, employee taxes, things like that. And so that obviously can add up quite significantly. And if you no longer can basically use that as a deduction, that means all of those taxes would come due all at the same time.
So
which,
it's an R&D
as you can
credit that's
imagine,
been revoked, is that it?
Yeah. So these are basically taxes you haven't had to be paying, that would suddenly come due.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Alex, I know they're filing an extension and hopefully it's going to go away. Is your business able to make any contingency planning for that?
Yeah, I mean, it's what we call the nuclear winter plan, which is having to very drastically cut a lot of things down, including like our own salaries basically disappearing as founders for a certain amount of time. So we'll see what happens. Our like overall runway is okay right now. We're also in the middle of fundraising, so hopefully that takes us to a place where it's less of a concern. But yes, we have our aptly named nuclear winter forecast for that reason.
Okay.
Alex, can I ask what how big is your company today in terms of ARR and headcount?
We are 7 people with around 350 ARR,
Okay.
pre-seed stage.
Yeah, so okay, I understand why that's a concern.
With all of that basically being engineering talent. So
Yeah.
the R&D credit is quite critical.
Yes. Okay, best of luck with that.
Thank you.
Perfect. Any other questions from anyone? Can I pick on Jamie, who's one of our newer members as well, and he joined in. Jamie, do you have any questions? Maybe not. Maybe not. Cool. That's all right. Anyone else before we go? Thanks, Barry. Thanks for the support. Perfect. Well, thanks. I suppose that's it for today. Thank you so much for Teresa and Joyce for joining us today. We will be sharing the recording of this workshop and the deck by Friday. And I know sometimes a few of our founders, will have time to look at their finances now and will have extra questions for Teresa and Joyce. So definitely do connect with them. They're happy to offer any advice, so connect with them in LinkedIn and they will be happy to do that as well. But before everybody clicks on the end button, as usual, I have my 3 reminders before we all depart. So next week, we have another workshop as well, same time, same place, same date, Wednesday, 4 p.m. British Standard Time. And it is with Eli Rubin, CEO of Matter Made, who will build an interactive session as well on demand efficiency. So if you are looking to attend, if you could please fill in the evaluation form, because he is building that workshop based on the information that he's getting from everybody. So he wants it to be quite interactive. So please do that. All the information is in the workshop invite. Second one is that the Mykonos SFM retreat is in 3 weeks. Woohoo! There's 5 more spaces. So it's one of those, if those 5 are gone, there's no way we can fit you in that hotel. So if you are even thinking of going, do get your tickets now. If not, if those 5 are gone, you'll have to wait till next year, which is, Mykonos is pretty cool. And lastly, before everyone departs, if you could please just complete the survey, this type form survey here in regards to today's workshop. I love hearing your thoughts and your experience. Teresa and Joyce would love it as well, but equally we love improving these workshops and what else can we give, provide to you as our members. So thank you so much again. Have a good rest of the week and thanks for joining us. Thank you to Joyce, Teresa, and everyone who asked questions as well. Thank you so much and have a good rest of the day.
Thanks,
See you
guys.
next week. Bye.
Take care.
Thanks all.